With me on the phone now, the legendary Pete Stahl from Earthlings, Scream, Wool, so many bands. And, I have to start off by asking you what you listened to growing up, because you've been in all these different bands with such an eclectic style. Where do you draw that from?
Well, first off, I'm very flattered that you would say legendary. That's crazy. But growing up, my dad used to manage rock bands in the late 60s, which is really what kind of pulled me into music. He used to take me and my brother to shows in D.C., club shows. He managed a band called the Hangmen, so I guess, the 60s garage music was the first thing I got turned on to, which kind of messed me up a little bit as far as my, I got into music really young, and then by the time I was 14, I was into jazz fusion, which is kind of odd. But then, luckily I discovered punk rock, shortly thereafter, and realized, that energy, I could do it myself. So then I started, got into being in a band myself, basically.
Well, Scream was around during the big punk boom in D.C. What kind of bands were you playing with? What was the vibe like?
Well, when we first started out, we were just playing local parties in our hood, keg parties and, basement parties and backyard parties. And we were all inspired by punk rock and new wave and garage music. And everyone in our neighborhood was listening to, the Skinner, Molly Hatchet, and all that stuff. And we'd play parties in our hood, and it was fun because we were just kind of messing with people a bit and having a good time ourselves and doing what we wanted to do.
How did Scream eventually evolve into Wool?
Oh, well, that's, it was many years later, it's a long time, but basically Scream broke up out here in Los Angeles where I live now, and my brother and I decided just to stick it out here. We didn't really have a plan, and we've been in Scream the whole time in D.C. and lived there our whole lives, so we just thought we'd see what it's like out here, and started first we had to get jobs and acclimate ourselves here and because we didn't have any money, no place to live. It's kind of, the band literally broke up in the middle of a tour, and we were kind of stuck here. And so we decided to stick it out. And then after we got it situated, then we started auditioning people, which really didn't work out, and ended up meeting people through friends that we met out here. Ultimately, we couldn't find a drummer from the get-go, so Pete Moffat came out and joined up with us, and then that's how we started Wool. Al Block, he was working at Aaron's Records, which was a killer record store, kind of like an Amoeba or, an indie record store that was in town at that time. Unfortunately, it's no longer here, but that's what we met him at the record store.
When you're a band and you're relocating like that, how did you first decide to go across country and then kind of set up shop?
Well, it wasn't a design or a plan. Literally, like as I was saying, we were on tour, and our bass player bailed on us in the middle of the tour, which had happened before. Skeeter Thompson was having some issues at home, and he just left in the middle of the tour. So we were stuck there, me, Franz, and Dave, and we still had about 15 shows to get back home. The typical route that we were in LA, we played a few shows, and we had about 15 shows booked on the way back home, back to DC, through the Southwest into Texas, down through South and all that. So first we tried to find a bass player. We auditioned a couple of people. It didn't work out. And then while we were trying people out, Nirvana called Dave up and asked him if he'd come up and play a few shows with them, and he ended up joining the band. That's basically how it happened. So then me and Franz were stuck down there, here, and we decided to just stick it out. We could have just went back home, but I mean, we would have to borrow money to get home. I didn't want to do that. And so luckily my sister was living out here, who we were staying with at the time, me, Fran, Dave, and so then we just stayed with her, and then we got jobs. Once we got jobs and got situated, then we started Wool. So
I was just wondering what that phone call must have been like to your friends and family, just saying, "Hey, we're stuck here in L.A. We're not coming home."
Yeah, well, my folks are used to it. I think, yeah. So that's just the way it is. You know, we've been musicians our whole lives, so it's kind of part of the deal. I don't think my mom was surprised, or my stepdad. My father's kind of out of the picture, really.
How did you get involved with the Desert Rock crew, so to speak?
Well, that kind of came about through Wool, really. Early on, we used to play this club. It coincidentally is called Scream Club. It used to, or a club with no name, it was called. And I was there one time, and I saw Caius play, and I struck up a conversation with the front of house guy. His name's Hutch, and he's one of my best friends now. And he introduced me to Caius and introduced me to Dave Ketchens, and went out to the desert, did a session out at Rancho de la Luna. Wool did, and that's how I met all those guys. And then, you know, we became friends, went on tour with Caius, and that whole thing, as far as Scream breaking up out here and us, you know, getting a new life out here and starting a new band. I mean, you know, I have no regrets. In fact, it you know, it's been a great thing for me and my brother.
Got a question from one of our listeners. Jason from New Jersey wants to know what it was like being a part of the inaugural Desert Sessions and how the writing process went.
Well, I mean, it was smart of Josh to start the Desert Sessions. I mean, that the whole the whole process of going out there and jamming with friends. I mean, it's a really great experience, and he's smart enough to kind of turn into a record series. But that's just kind of how it is out there. It's just like, you know, we go out there, hang out, you know, you jam out, and the tracking room is right there, and we jam in the tracking room, and stuff goes to tape, and it's pretty improvised. And my, you know, as far as I was part of the, you know, first couple Desert Sessions, which, you know, it's pretty loose, and you know, you just kind of jam and improvise, and we party and we have a good time, and that's what you get when you listen to it.
So there's no real driving force other than, I don't want to sound cliche, but the music. You don't have anything coming into it?
Not at all. No. It's wide open. I mean, I think now as that series has continued on, there's some more structure involved, because, you know, he's pulling musicians in from everywhere and other bands, and it's become a known series. But initially, frankly, I think the Desert Session is kind of inspired from how the Earthlings create music, which is basically that way. And it's just it's just a party, and it's just a jam, and then we throw stuff on tape, and we build on it, you know, and that's kind of where the Desert Sessions came from, I think. And so that's how it is to this day, and that's how the Earthlings create music, that way. And I think that what we did, just kind of took that and you know, made a series of records out of it, and that idea and that way of creating and turn into a thing, you know, which is called Desert Sessions.